Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. As promised, we're doing the post-debate show like no other before anybody else. Myself and Robbie Martin of MediaRoots.org just sat through a grueling almost 3 hours. It was like watching the latest Tarantino picture without any of the fun. And let me tell you, I would say out of the 2 hours and 48 minutes I just went through, there was about maybe 10 minutes of relevant information. Most of it was propped up talking points, fake rivalries that are trying to be propped up to get people into the top 10 and then the top 5 and then whittled down to that establishment candidate for the Democrats. As you can see, we got the chat up. We're going to take all super chats and start lining up the questions and comments throughout. I will try to get to everybody, but if you've been in this before, it fills up pretty quick. And I do what I can. I'm going to bring it all the way back to the last thing I babbled about here. And without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Martin. You can check him out at Fluorescent Gray on Twitter, over at MediaRoots.org, and you can check him out at a very heavy agenda on YouTube or Media Roots as well. So give those a subscribe. Now, I promised him that before we went all pro Tulsi Gabbard, which, hey, she's got her faults. We've talked about them before. CFR, gun grabber, has flip-flopped a little bit on Syria, etc., etc. He sent me her latest ad campaign. Now, it's only got 2,732 views. The truth is this broadcast will probably get more views. So she'll double or possibly even triple the view count on this thing. And I'm coming in cold. So before Robbie even gets to talk, I'm going to watch it cold with the rest of the audience. And he said to me, Burmis, if I didn't know she was anti-war, this is a neocon's wet dream of a video. So let's check it out
That's
right
not
now.
exactly what I said.
Not exactly, right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm Tulsi Gabbard. I'm running for president, and I approve this message because I love our country. It's why I decided to enlist after 9/11, why I serve in Congress, and why I'm offering to serve as your commander-in-chief to protect you, our Constitution, our freedom. I pledge
I
allegiance.
can't disagree, Robbie. It's, obviously there's not a whole lot of meat on that bone. It's basically I was in the military, 9/11 was bad, vote for me. And that's one of the biggest problems with even the debates we just listened to, right? We acknowledged it went a full 2 hours, 2.5 hours plus, before the mediators even mentioned foreign policy of any kind other than South America and immigration. They barely mentioned Iran unless it was thrust upon them by the candidates. I haven't even let you talk. Let's get your hot take on the hot garbage we just watched.
Well, I mean, you just said it. It was literally 15 minutes left, and that's all we got on foreign policy. And it was just these encapsulated responses. It was almost like speed dating questions that they did towards the end about foreign policy.
You're not
that was the
wrong.
best we got.
Yeah, and
I mean, was that because they realized how much overtime they went in the first 2 hours, and they were just like, we got to jam all this in. Just let's go. Afghanistan. I mean, was there even questions about Iran?
There was not. There was not one question about Iran. In fact, Bill de Blasio, who is a huge blowhard, was the only one that was even able to say that we need to de-escalate that situation and not go on. And let me remind people, if you went back to the other two debates, it was Kristen Gillibrand that fit that into her closing statement. Otherwise, it was almost completely ignored. Now, I have noticed a theme if we're going to talk about foreign policy, because, hey, they didn't, right? That the only thing they are talking about is the de-escalation or removal of troops in Afghanistan, because one, I feel like they can use that as a failure of the Trump presidency. That promise was made and it couldn't be there. And two, I think they're also posturing for the inevitability of the movement of private military groups in there instead of U.S. forces. And they're just not ready to make that transition yet. And quite frankly, I'm not sure which is more dangerous. Obviously, I want our troops out of there. But, if we're going to double the boots on the ground with private military groups that we're going to pay for that are simply unaccountable and are basically mercs for hire at this point, they're not even under our government. I think that's equally, if not more, dangerous.
Well, yeah, I mean, we already know that Eric Prince has been primarily the one who's been trying to get this, into play. So one of the worst that we know of as far as private military contractors goes, is the one who's sort of, I guess, gotten this idea into Trump's head that this is the appropriate way to take care of Afghanistan. But you're right. I mean, it is actually kind of strange that nobody really explained, like, the troops being pulled out of Iraq, that became sort of fodder for saying that, that's what created ISIS. That when we pulled out of their troops out of Iraq, it's surprising actually that the topic of pulling the troops out of Afghanistan was mentioned in this debate, but not the consequences of that. You would think CNN would say, well, what about like Al Qaeda returning to Afghanistan or the Taliban? It just seems like it was almost just, I feel like it just wasn't a very serious question when they asked it. Like, it was just kind of thrown out there
in a certain way, for sure. Exactly. They're framing it as a Trump failure, and then how are you going to keep this promise when nobody else did? For instance, last night, Bootlicker there, Buttigieg, was the one person that said we can get you out in 1 year. Beta Robert O'Rourke said we could do it in a full term, and then Bernie said he could do it, but he wasn't giving a time frame, and he said, I'll tell you why we could do it, because I'm not a congenital liar like the guy in office. Like, Bernie just seemed crazy and angry yesterday. Obviously, I feel like no matter what, he's going to get into the next tier. But let's talk about the hot moments. I would say the hottest moment and the smartest moment on Tulsi's part was to gun for Kamala Harris, who's a media darling, completely disingenuous, and being promoted as the front runner other than Biden. Let's get that clear. And 2, because she was able to explain our foreign policy of we used to fight Al Qaeda, but now we actually aid Al Qaeda. And she did it in a pretty quick manner that nobody challenged her on, and kind of just went by the wayside, and they moved on to another subject. What'd you think about that?
Well, I thought it was pretty funny that she said that the current president, supports Al Qaeda. That was something that she hasn't actually, I don't think she's actually said that directly before. She's insinuated things about just the general U.S. policy, but I thought that was interesting. But I thought the Kamala Harris attacks, well, I mean, I wouldn't even call them attacks. They were all true things she was saying to Kamala Harris, was the highlight of the entire debate. Because we got such a meager discussion about foreign policy overall, I would say that was probably my favorite moment. And just what was so great about it is you could see the utter disdain on Kamala Harris's face while Tulsi Gabbard was just firing off point by point. Like, Tulsi Gabbard was basically mining the best anti-Kamala Harris talking points that I've seen mostly kind of circulating on the left.
And let's start there, because what did she say? She said, hey, you put all these people in jail. You laughed about whether you used marijuana or not. You're just another sellout bitch, basically. I mean, you're just another sellout basic bitch. And for those that don't know much about the behind-the-scenes stuff of Kamala Harris, the prosecutor, in other words, lawyer, a.k.a. professional liar, and how many nonviolent drug offenders she put in jail, it was aplenty in a very corrupt state. But the way she climbed up was to have an affair with Willie Brown, the San Francisco mayor. That's the type of social climbing, backstabbing, disingenuine cunt she is. And I will say that with the C-bomb. It doesn't much matter. This video is getting demonetized, and we all know it. So
you want to get a strike, Jason?
Oh no! I mean, is that a strike? I can't.
Well, I mean, do they do that? I thought profanity. They strike people now for that.
No, they do not.
Okay.
Yeah, the profanity? No, it's got to be hate speech. I mean, who knows? Listen, I'll stand by every word of that. That is the kind of woman. Okay, ladies, let me get you straight. Will lie, smile to your face, invite you to dinner, cook a cake with you while banging simultaneously your husband and your grown son. 100%. That's the lady, okay? I'm telling you right now, if she thinks that she can get something out of it, she's doing it, and she'll do it with a smile. All right, with that being said, Yang. Let's talk a little Yang, and then we're going to start going through right here. Like I said, I'm going to take all super chats, but I'm going to try to go through the questions and comments with Robbie. He's only on for the next 40 or so minutes. We might go a little longer. I'm not sure. Yang, he doesn't get the time I think he deserves. I think he's very intelligent when he talks about automation and a need for a new economy. I'm not on board with the universal basic income. I did like his comments about climate change and that he didn't pander too much. He said, look, it's already too late. Let's get some money in people's pockets. If they've got to move up the coastline, let's do it. I think that's an intelligence response when almost everybody else up there is like, we've got 10 years, we've got 9 years, my plan, my carbon program. Other than that, I really didn't see anything that I haven't heard before and that didn't toe the establishment line. Was there really anything else?
You mean in terms of Yang's, like a specific?
I mean across the board. We could talk Yang if you like, but across the board, who else had? I mean, was there anything from anyone at all? And I'm not even saying I agree with that, but I'm saying outside of those talking points, they basically debated the same things we talked about. It. They virtue signaled on the immigration issue. Basically, it's not an issue anymore. If you're not for open borders, and that's a Republican talking point, remember, that was said again and again. If you're not for open borders where people can come here and get benefits, it's insinuated you're a racist, right? I mean, that's pretty much it, right?
Well, I mean, I definitely have different opinions on this whole issue, but no, I mean, I don't think it's gone quite that far. I think in some circles it has, perhaps. But it is what I was finding interesting about all the immigration questions in this debate, or a lot of them were things that seemed like they were designed, questions by the CNN panelists designed to corner some of these Democrats into taking perhaps more radical positions than they would want to.
Yeah, well, they're framing it in
openly
a manner.
Admitting
It's not, hey, what can we do to possibly make things better and stop illegal immigration or stop people from coming here? The frame up was, once they're here, you're not going to separate them, or you're not going to not give them health care. I mean, they don't even give you an option of, making something illegal. And then Cory Booker steps in and kind of slides the issue a little bit. He says, well, the problem is that the president's made it a criminal issue. We'll make it a civil issue. So once people get here, they can just do whatever they want. They'll show up to their civil case. Of course they will. And then we'll fix it from there. Again, it seems absurd, but I feel like that's where the conversation has fully moved. You can't say that you're going to send people back. You can't say you're going to even have a detention system. And we've had this conversation. The United States is largely responsible for the problems in South America through their covert actions, through the actions of large banks and the military-industrial complex. It's not like these people don't have a bone to pick, Robbie. They absolutely do, right? But at the same time, allowing a bunch of people to flood the borders undocumented, not paying taxes, that's going to have an effect on the economy. However, just like Yang said, and Yang was one of the only people to say it, while people try to make that point, most of the jobs that they're coming in for are being automated out anyway and won't exist in 10 years.
Well, I mean, a lot of the agriculture jobs, I don't know how much that can be automated yet. I mean, I don't know how far along that technology is in terms of like field manual labor, but I mean, in terms of the what was so interesting to me about some of these illegal immigration questions was, it did seem like, a lot of this has to be looked at, I think, in a really disingenuous framing, because we already know that Obama, aside from a lot of the rhetoric that Trump puts out, it was pretty similar to the immigration policies that Trump is actually putting, has in place. Mm-hmm. So it's disingenuous for the media to act so outraged about this now when Trump is in office. So I almost feel like it's almost all within that framing. So it's almost this pointless debate, because in the end, a lot of these Democrats know they have to vote for some kind of immigration enforcement policy.
Well,
they're not really for open borders, I don't think. It just seems like total posturing. You know what I mean?
But did you see where de Blasio came in? And de Blasio tried to use that to his advantage and said, hey, a lot of these policies were under the Obama administration and the passing there. What was your advice to him? And Biden was like, I'm not going to stand here and tell her. Ah! He's like, I'm sure you would, but when I tell the president something, I keep it private. Just total horse shit. He did whatever he was told to do. It's just like, some of the more blatant lies, Kamala Harris and Cory Booker saying they read the Mueller report. Anybody that read 10 pages of the Mueller report could have cornered them on any random question about it. Anything of significance, anything at all to do with it. They're
Mueller didn't even read the Mueller report.
Come on, he looked terrible up there. I just did a video on that, and it's so sad. When you let Jim Jordan rip you apart in the manner that he did, and then you sit there and you start talking about how Assange is an enemy intelligence agency or a threat. Blowing my mind, dude. I thought he was going to seize up out there. All right, let's start going through some of the questions and the comments. Again, Drufus, I want to thank you for the super chat, my man. We will take all super chats, and I'll try to get to everything here. Remember, Robbie Martin of MediaRoots.org is my guest. His documentary film series is a heavy agenda. Go check it out. Kamala and Biden took up most of the time tonight. Yesterday, it was Bernie and Warren. Absolutely. Clearly, the media loves those four the most. 100%. They put them in the center. They introduce them. They do a piece on them right beforehand. They literally go in order on who they're going to allow up there. Let's be honest. Bennett was garbage. He was as establishment and boring and grandpa as it gets. He got the least amount of time. Castro is a radical, and he has nothing good to say that's not on a party line. He was probably in that range of the second to last. Then you had de Blasio, who would just belt in. He didn't get a lot in, but when he did get it in, you at least heard him. Gillibrand would do the same thing. I'd say then Tulsi and Yang, even though they got less time, they were more effective, and the audience was with them. But they pushed what? They tried to push the rivalry so Kamala Harris and Biden can butt heads all the way to the finals. And Booker can kind of be that remnant player that maybe gets a vice presidency nomination or somebody who's in the cabinet. Real sleazeback political stuff. That's how I read it. Our guru, JB. I am not a guru. I'm far from it. Can we get Mueller to investigate Google meddling in elections? We can't get Mueller to investigate the color of his toilet paper because he's not an investigator anymore. He can barely walk. He had nothing to do with that investigation. If that wasn't clear when you saw that, that was an old man, an old establishment guy sitting up before and saying what he was told to say. And when we had no idea. He just, that's not in my purview. It's not in my purview. I can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. He looked bad. From the days when he was lying about Iraq and 9/11, let me tell you something. It was sad to watch. It was sad to watch an old curmudgeon of the state look that terrible. Officers don't enlist. Enlist after 9/11 goes to fight for the wrong guy. Yeah, that's a big problem. I'm not a big fan of that either. Whoa, Blackwater, keep on rolling. Let's talk about that real quick. Blackwater. How do you think it got to the point, Robbie, where they could just come back with the name and everybody's cool with it?
Well, I still think among, most people, they still have a bad reputation, but they rebranded. I think 2 separate times they've changed their name to Academy. And then I'm trying to remember what the third iteration was. Or there was one in the middle.
It was Academy and XE Services. Were the
yes.
Two. Yes.
And then eventually they went back to Blackwater. They re-announced their reopening. I think we actually did a video about this a long time ago. Maybe it was like a year ago now, where they actually put a magazine ad out saying that they're coming back with the bear paw logo, the classic Blackwater logo. But Eric Prince is a really interesting figure because he's sort of managed to go from sort of the neoconservative era of the Bush administration, being an instrumental part of the Iraq war and that whole thing, to now being sort of part of I wouldn't say the alt-right, but sort of this weird right-wing sort of media sphere, almost like alt media. I notice even people, even the QAnon sort of narrative lifts up Eric Prince now.
Well, Breitbart.
I find that very interesting.
Yeah, well, what I think is, and I always say I take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying he's lying because he's definitely in the purview to know, but it doesn't make him any less snaky. But one of the things he said was that Hillary Clinton had been to Epstein's Island 6 times at least. Now, we don't have any evidence of that beyond Eric Prince. He did that on Breitbart Radio. It was pre-election, but that was big in circles, and I said to myself, I don't trust Eric Prince, But, he's playing a side here, and I don't think he would call out that information if he didn't know. It shows you how these people will stab each other in the back. But just the idea that private military groups have grown to the size they have, that most of the public is unaware, that they are now poised to take over these quote-unquote forever wars, that people like Charles Koch and George Soros are now teaming up to end with their Quincy Institute. Well, how do we stop those forever wars with the United States? We need somebody in there. How about a privatized military group that we at the Quincy Institute pay for? Well, we don't want anybody to die. So, you move it into even more of a quasi-global fascist dictatorship globally. Talk about some, New World Order shit. And I know that sounds convoluted, but I don't know another way to say it. When you have an unaccountable Merc group that could one day be working for billionaires on behalf of think tanks they fund, and that's a very real thing and something that's starting to be promoted, really, you have to be worrisome about it. All right.
Just really quickly, just the Edward Snowden. I mean, a lot of people don't remember that he actually worked for Booz Allen Hamilton, which is a private contracting firm that arranged his jobs at the NSA and CIA. Like, there's so much crossover now. It's kind of, in some ways, indistinguishable.
That's right. And it's indistinguishable on purpose. Aside from the shell groups that they actually create in order to do their business, they do have these private contractors that are completely outside of their purview that they recruit from on a period-to-period basis, because that's how quickly technology moves. All right, Hideout says CNN ignored Iran. Completely ignored Iran. They pretty much cut the terrible mayor when he said it should be talked about. Yes, de Blasio is the one guy that yelled it out. Like I said, Gillibrand was the only person to do it last time. Even Tulsi, in her closing statement, talked more about Cold Wars and fear-mongering and ending the regime change wars than stopping a conflict with Iran. Let's see. Then they cut off and went to someone else. Yes, they did. I pledge of. Looks like Leonardo. I don't know what that means. Hey, all. Hey, Poot Pete Bootlicker. Yep. Thumbs up the video. Yeah, thumbs up the video. Let's go. 162 watching. Can we get 400 likes? Can we get there with 162 people watching? How many lumps do you want in your coffee, Joe? I'll take 2. Jack Torrance, thumbs up. Camilla. I hardly knew her. You can say hi. What the F is wrong with you? Okay, that's a little aggressive. Like Jason cussing. That good grief family crap here. I agree. That's why I love this platform. You know what? Sometimes you have to bust out a fuck you. I mean, seriously. Oh, yes, the cunt never served in combat. She was in the rear with the gear. Oh, who could you be talking about? F that. Stand by your boy C-Bomb. I'm with you there. Adults using strong language. There is no climate change. Well, I would disagree. I mean, listen, the climate's going to change. There was a thing called the Ice Age, right? And we're going to see change in the climate no matter what. Remonetized. I think Harrison Biden should just make out next debate. What do you think about that? You think they should just go for it? Will they even be in the same debate together next?
Aren't they going to have to narrow it down in the next one and cut out some of these people?
I don't know. We're still a year
I would hope
out.
so.
I would say this. Who did the first one? It was MSNBC, right?
It was MSNBC did both the first ones. Yeah.
Well, I mean the first group, and this one's CNN. Yeah. So who do they really have that's going to buy into the horse shit that they've been spewing as moderators on that level? I suppose you could have a CNBC debate, right? I suppose that if you wanted to start promoting shitbag journalism like Vox and BuzzFeed, you could have them promote it and be the hip only online one, right? But that's going to take out a huge voting demographic. Who else do you go to? You don't want to go to Fox News. Fox News is not going to allow that. So I don't know if they can find a soft target. I mean, maybe they have to go corporate, right? CBS, NBC, ABC. Yeah. That
seems like the only options. I mean, they wouldn't dare do a Fox News one. That would be interesting.
I would love that. Oh my God, let's do that. I mean, that at least would be entertaining, I believe. So I don't know, man. I think that if they can find another softball one, they're going to have to allow the 20-plus candidates out there, and we'll see that probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks because it hasn't been announced. And then after that, I think some people are going to have to start dropping out, right? We've already seen it, right? Swalwell's gone, but another guy replaced him on the stage yesterday. I forget who it was, and he had some decent talk about Big Pharma. That was something that wasn't talked about much here. You notice that? Big Pharma was talked about a little bit last night, and Marianne Williamson was allowed to talk about the healthcare and the sick care industry. And that,
just the healthcare industries, but not the pharmaceutical companies get brought up.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it was, tonight was as soft as it gets. It was a fluff and nutter night for people like Biden and Kamala Harris on purpose, trying to prop them up, in my opinion. People have been talking about climate change since the 40s. They changed the doom date. Jesus is coming back too, guys. Oh, I'm not trying to offend the religious. Maybe he is. I have no idea. I'm just a human being. Let's see. 40 years, try over 100 in the New York Times. Oh, boy. In the words of Khabib, climate change is the biggest bullshit. Jesus. Oh, the global warming. Burma sucks, Robbie. He's a tool. Robbie, don't do my show anymore. I'm sorry for being such a tool.
Who is that?
Biden let slip in his rally. Climate control, now climate change, because that they can't get that wrong. What's this? Harris. Oops. I thought you were talking about Gabbard. Harris talks like she has her nose so far up her libtard ass, she sounds funny, like she still has shit up her nose. I don't know about that. I think she just looks
too
like
descriptive to me.
I think that she looks just honed in and serious, right? Totally disingenuous. She looks like a prosecutor that's making a fake argument.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think she has a bad stage performance, if I'm being honest. That's why I was telling you earlier, I feel like if you're going to think about matching, who of these people would actually be a matchup with Trump on the debate stage? The only positive thing I could say about her is that she might actually be a decent matchup, and just in terms of seeing the energy on the debate stage, imagine one of these people with Trump. Like, I can't even imagine. I mean, Bernie, I feel like wouldn't even do as good of a job as someone like her.
No,
I mean, just for having the prosecutor experience. But, dude, she looked so upset when Tulsi was hammering her with those points about putting away people for minor drug offenses. Like, she looked, she wouldn't even look in Tulsi's direction. Like, I haven't seen anyone get under her skin like that before. So that was interesting. So maybe she's not as good of a prosecutor as she thinks she is.
No, definitely not. Well, I mean, again, she's a social climber. She can't bang Tulsi Gabbard and get out of the mix. You know what I mean? She can't seduce Gabbard unless there's something else going on there.
Is that Willie Brown thing true?
Oh, 100%.
I haven't heard that before.
Oh, really? Willie Brown's been open about it. Oh, that's not even like rumorville. Yeah. Oh no, that's 100% confirmed. I'm surprised more people haven't dug in on the debate stage to throw that in there. Look it up when you get to. Oh, I'm serious, man. Things are going to get ruthless. And when you talk about Gabbard, she polled really well after the last debate. I just did a piece on how Google banned her from AdSense. They wouldn't let her. That is insane to me because she's a sitting congresswoman. She's one of 20 plus different candidates, all of which can buy Google ads. And because she actually is the most organically searched after the first round of debates, they cut her off. And now you think that the Democrats would be outraged. It'd be all over the MSNBC and the CNN. And no, man, the only person that has her on television is fucking Tucker Carlson. And I know that you're critical of Tucker, but you got to give him credit on that one. Hey, Robbie?
I'll give him a back pat. I'll give the former employee of Bill Kristol and the Weekly Standard a back pat on that one.
Yes. He went after Kristol a few weeks ago. He did. He
did, but he did not say when he goes after Kristol, he never mentions that he used to work for him.
That's true.
So,
that's got to be tough, though. It's not like
he mentions that in the same breath.
I hear you.
But no, I think it is actually really weird that that's not getting more attention. Because that's a way bigger deal than the Pimplegate thing from last.
Dude,
yeah.
She's
I mean, the fact that that's like treating her like Alex Jones. I feel like Alex Jones still is allowed to advertise on Google.
Of course.
Did he get banned?
I don't think from Google AdSense. I think he could advertise all day on that. There was actual articles coming out, and I was actually told this by a Google contractor that they have Google AdSense for websites that actually host child pornography. Like this is a real thing that Google has been outed for multiple times. They were making ad money on websites that had
not like naked children, but like borderline child
No,
pornography.
I know. Listen, YouTube got caught up in, if you did like 3 or 4 weird searches, if you
Oh
knew what
God,
you were
oh
looking
yeah,
for, and like it's like kids
oh
doing gymnastics. I mean, I'd be horrified to find
dude,
out that
I
I
did that.
uploaded a family video on the internet and somebody cut out a certain, I'd want blood. I'd want blood. And that is some really scary and sketchy stuff. But it's really scary and sketchy. Again, somebody who's popular, running for president, is not saying anything hateful. And the thing is, they can't corner her on that. They tried to corner her on the transphobic or the homophobic stuff. And she's already kind of put that to the side, and it's moved on. So, I don't know. It's kind of odd. Oh, I'm wondering if we're getting
I think
kicked
it's the
off here.
Assadist. If I was to guess what it's really about, it's the Assad stuff. It's the fact that she met with Assad in Syria, the fact that she's taking, totally the anti-establishment position on the what's going on in Syria. I think that's mostly where that's coming from. I mean, it seems like she's smeared for that in pretty much every article against her. That's why it's hard to find good faith criticisms of her foreign policy platform, which I've tried to do on my own, channel. Mm-hmm. But, yeah,
I've got 2 super chats here. I want to go too quick, Robbie. I'm going to go right back to you, and I'm going to get to him. Second time Tulsi Gabbard is #1 on Google Trends. And sorry, I had to scroll down to see that because it didn't come up on here. Sorry, it jumped off. I hope we're still on because it looks like we're live, but there's some kind of weird error going on YouTube. Hopefully, we're still streaming. And then Johnny P says, Jason, why did you split with Luke? No BS, please. Already told everybody. Not that I want to get into it a million times, but I said it on the 20K AMA. I think I explained something on like the 40-year-old birthday AMA. But once again, I was forced to go solo on my own because, hey, I got to make a living. I'm trying to put out a lot of content at once, and that just wasn't a viable option. I was willing to go to work the day that it all kind of ended. If you want to know more than that, again, I've gone over it at length on those 2 broadcasts. Sorry I interrupted, sir. Continue, Robbie.
I think Tulsi, I don't even remember what I was saying, honestly, about Tulsi. But, I think in terms of good faith criticisms of her, there's very few out there. Actually, Scott Horton of Anti-War Radio just actually wrote one of the best good faith criticisms I've seen of her foreign policy platform. And he just sort of goes into how, you can't really be anti-regime change wars if you're for the war on terrorism. They're interconnected. He just makes a really strong, lengthy argument about that. And I think he just, he's trying to steer Tulsi in a better direction. And I think ultimately that's all we can do. Like even when Ron Paul and Kucinich were running, like not everything they said
is perfect.
Was,
it's never going to be.
Was
and
great.
I think that people, and I think that people that believe that, we have to go after somebody because, they don't step in line with everything. Listen, you got to take the good with the bad. Me and Robbie don't agree on everything. I promise you. Me and Luke, when we worked together, we didn't agree on everything. I think it's good to have dissent. That's the point. Better ideas hopefully win out in the end. It's when you stifle that dissent, when you won't let somebody like Gabbard even advertise, that's when we get to problematic areas, especially when it's obvious that, CNN and MSNBC are on one end giving a hand job to Joe Biden, and still pushing the underlings, Pete Bootlicker. I'm telling you, they want him in the top 5, top 10. He's very well spoken, very pro-establishment, promising things that he can't deliver on, like getting us out of Iraq. But hey, he's a war veteran. We better listen to him. And, it's hip and cool. He's a homosexual. He's married to a man. He's a family guy. He's a great mayor. He's not afraid to tackle those race and identity politic issues that we've been forcing on the public. So, they're going to push that guy. All right, let's continue on here. Jason Berman says, Trump started any new wars? No! I don't know about that. Listen, we were de-escalating in Syria, and maybe he didn't start it, and we're going to get to that $99.99 super chat that we are very thankful for in a second. He may not have started
Africa.
But he sure continued it. That's right. And we're in parts in Africa. AFRICOM, I would say, well, we were already in the Sudan, but I'm pretty sure he escalated Somalia quite a bit. I don't know that he started it, but he's certainly not ending it. Okay? So we're going to see. No, he is resisting Iran, even though he's surrounded by neocons. So I don't get your tired old above the paradigm crap. He transcends it. Transcending it doesn't mean, hold on. Transcending it doesn't mean sending 17 missiles into Syria. Transcending it doesn't mean vetoing a bill which would have stopped us bombing the fuck out of children in the Yemen. All right? That no one wants to talk about that. It's the biggest humanitarian crisis. We pick out the target. There are fucking bombs. Don't tell me we didn't start
and what about
that
the
shit.
sanctions?
What's that?
I mean, the sanctions themselves. He's escalated the sanctions in Iran to extremely high levels. I mean, the sanctions actually kill people. They harm people. They are a form of war, and you know, he's not. It's just absurd to think that this is just all for show. He put in Foundation for Defense of Democracy neocons into his own administration. The people have been trying to overthrow the government of Iran since 9/11. I mean, it's not a joke.
No, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
It's real. And I'm telling you right now, Netanyahu and company, they're real happy about this. All right? The prince over there in Saudi Arabia, they're real happy about this. They want dominance in Eurasia. They think Iran is a thorn in their side. They see this as an opportunity to escalate that. When we talk about Yemen, do you know who the enemy is there? It's fucking Hezbollah. All right? That's, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, it's sympathizers, Hezbollah. They're in Yemen. We need to stop them. It's all bullshit and connected. In reality, we're popping off real bombs on real children in real cities. All right, believe that. That's war. So I'm sorry. You know, I can't get behind that. We had an opportunity to end that. Congress and Senate voted for it. I didn't like the subtext that if it was a joint mission with Israel, we would still do it, but it was better than fucking nothing. Anyway, Fun Lovin' B says, big ups to you, Jason, for stopping and recognizing your followers in the middle of a broadcast. It's why we love you, dude. It's why I love you, my man. I really appreciate that. That helps us going. That puts this up to almost a $100 broadcast. You're keeping me alive, guys. I really love it. And by the way, if you want to, help me a little bit more, I got this whole GoFundMe thing. That's how we're doing it. We're almost halfway there. We're almost halfway through the month. We're doing it every month. Gives me about 60 G's a year. 20 of that goes to taxes. It's 40 grand. Pretty modest living to be working 7 days a week and putting out 3 to 7 videos a day. But hey, if you can't donate, I totally get it. Please just subscribe and join the Burmese Brigade. Thumbs this video up, share it on social media, and support independent media, not only like myself, but like Robbie Martin over at A Heavy Agenda and over at Media Roots. And remember, you can go to MediaRoots.org for all the latest. All right, Robbie, let's continue on down the line, friend. Academia never hired me. Too many batteries to cops on my record. You'd think that would be a job requirement. Well, good for you, JP Knight, on all those assaults. 13,000 years ago, there was 2 miles of ice where I am. That's the word on the street. Of course, I wasn't around 13,000 years ago to confirm. De Blasio has rat-infested buildings to deal with. He won't win. Yo, I was down in New York City a month and a half ago for Bellator MSG, right in the heart. Drove through Manhattan. It's like a third world fucking country. What was the last time you were in a city, Robbie? Because I know you're a West Coast guy.
I'd say probably 4. Oh no, actually maybe 2 years ago. But I was in I was in a part of Queens, and I didn't really venture too far.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Queens outside of Long Island, you can still get some trees. It's not as crazy. When you are in the heart of Harlem, Manhattan, forget about it, man. It is a circus. It's a zoo. It's not where I want to be for more than a couple days. Maybe I can do a week vacation in New York, but that is the concrete jungle straight up. I don't know why this guy thinks he has any business running for president. Let's skip whatever that is. PBS, Fox News.
Oh, and he also, de Blasio tried to pass, he tried to ban BDS. He was one of these people that was actually trying to ban New York, like any government officials from like advocating for BDS or something like that.
Yeah, and that's basically an Israeli organization when they go over the top on their neocon agenda, right? The BDS thing.
The BDS thing is just boycott, divestment, sanctions against. It's made to just boycott Israeli products. So Yeah, I mean, to just try to circumvent the First Amendment to go against it is pretty ludicrous. So he was one of the people that actually advocated for that.
Well, I mean, when you got Mike Pompeo saying that, anti-Zionism is equated to anti-Semitism, even though one's a political philosophy which causes, the deaths and harm of hundreds, if not thousands of lives a year, sometimes more than that. Again, the Zionists are in on the whole Yemen bombing too, guys. So, tens of thousands. Conservatively, people die because of that philosophy. Not allowed to say it. You must hate the Jews. It's crazy. And then on the other flip side of it, right, Robbie? People attack me, and I'm an undercover Mossad agent, or I'm a crypto Jew. It's the most insane thing, right? You can't. And the thing is, they'll come after you. People will say Jason Burmis is an anti-Semite, but then I won't say that the Jews run the world because they don't. You can't say the Jewish people run anything because they're the Jewish people. It's like saying the Italian people run the mafia, or me and Robbie, the American people, run the NSA. We don't got a fucking clue what's going on over in the NSA at all. We're battling that. So it's just some wild stuff out there in the Wonderverse. Let's see, is there any more of those super chats? No. Let's continue on through this. And Robbie, while I'm looking through for a good comment, why don't you tell the people how they can support you and your sister's work at Media Roots?
Well, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Media Roots Radio. We release 4 episodes a month currently. And we do usually like one bonus episode for patrons only, about once or twice a month. I mean, probably like once a month at the most. Gotcha. So we're trying to do bonus episodes just for you subscribers out there. But most of our stuff is free. We don't like lock most of our content. So yeah, check us out on there. And I'm doing my own live streams now as well. I just did one leading up to the debate, and you can go check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/Robbie Martin.
Awesome. Let's read this one here. I actually like this one. When you say Kamala Harris, I think of Kamala from the WWF when I was young. I also think of Kamala from the WWF when I was young. Talk about a character you probably couldn't get away with in wrestling anymore. He was a voodoo African with face paint on, and he used to have all the voodoo stuff, and he didn't speak any English, and some other voodoo doctor kind of had to take care of him. He was a wild man, that Kamala. One of my favorites, actually.
I don't remember that.
No? Damn. WWF Kamala?
No.
Oh, dude. We're on a
What era of WWF was it?
Oh, that's way back
early
before
90s?
the WWE. Hold on. Kamala.
Late 80s? Early 90s?
Late 80s is when his prime. 87,
okay.
88.
I don't remember that,
That's the dude right here. Hold on. Let's get him up here. And there she is. She's running for president. There's no way they get away with this anymore. Had the mask and everything. Like, it's
okay, now I recognize them. I totally do.
Yeah, I mean, they had the moon and the stars. Really great stuff. I think he's still alive, which is, I hope he's not gone. He may have passed. Nope, he's still around, man. 380 pounds, 6'7". That's a big old dude. Oh,
still kicking.
Hey, you know what? The debates are pretty much like WWE wrestling anyway. I mean, they're pretty much staged and fake. Like I said, they set up that Biden-Kamala Harris rivalry like no other. And even when they came out, I know you missed a little bit of the beginning, but they announced them first, so they had to come out and shake hands, and they had the mics hot, and they're like, are we good? Because they already talked about the tension when she said the bus comment from the first time. And are we good? We're good? Oh, okay.
Wait, you heard that? You can hear that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they had...
What?
Yeah, man. Yeah, they were talking about the tensions right before they came out, right? And then they brought them on together, and like they had to shake hands, and we're good. We're good. Oh, we're good. We're good.
Wow.
Yeah, as phony as it gets. All right, let's keep on.
Who was the protester? There was like protester you said that came on during when Cory Booker opened.
Yes.
Right?
Does anybody know what the first protest? There was 2 protesters. What was the 3 million one? That was during Biden, right?
It seemed like it was something about immigration. It seemed like they were talking about 3 million people deported. That's what it sounded like, but I wasn't sure. And then some dude stood up with a sign, and then they cut away.
Yeah.
You didn't really see what happened to him. I'm sure he got whisked away very quickly. And
the first one, it was a group of people. It took a while, but Cory Booker had to shut up for about 30 seconds. Yeah, it was a group of people. So I'm not sure what that one was. I'm sure it'll be in my Twitter feed at Jason Burmas. Let me know, guys. All right, let's see. What about the banking cabal? Big agri, big pharma, big military. The election won't change any of that from what I see. I totally agree. Activity Ottawa. I mean, that was our biggest complaint. Me and Robbie, by the way, we were going back and forth on the Twitter DMs while this was going on. And there, like we open this broadcast with, there wasn't much substance. I mean, how much of, other than big military by maybe two candidates, Tulsi Gabbard being one of them, was talked about at all?
Nothing. There was some mention about like water pollution and like environmental stuff at the end without directly going after like who's poisoning the water, and stuff like that. So they like touched on like periphery issues, but they didn't really go after any like industries. I mean, not even the military industrial complex itself was really gone after by Tulsi Gabbard, for example, in this debate. I think she might have mentioned it in the last. Maybe I missed something. Jason, did she use that phrase this time?
She didn't use military industrial complex, but in her closing statement, she said warmongers, and she started talking about the machine and went more of Cold War era stuff. And she basically talked about, again, ending regime change wars, investing in diplomacy, and then taking the billions, if not trillions of dollars that we save and reinvesting them in our community.
There's almost no talk at all that I heard in either debate about the military budget. I mean, what was there in the debate with Bernie and Warren?
Zero. Yeah, last night, like zero on Iran. Zero on Iran.
You would think that one of the candidates would have brought up the military budget with all this talk about free healthcare. I mean, that just seems like a no-brainer.
There was no doubt it was free. If you weren't for Medicare or for all and for something other than that and free. And by the way, I don't know how much you watched last night, but Tom Delaney talking about how it is a right. I'm actually on that train. I know a lot of people hate me for that, but I think that we can make, necessary medical care a right for everybody in this country. But if you want to buy into a private insurance that's going to allow you certain things, we should. We're never going to change it unless we change the entire lobbying system and we start criminally prosecuting companies like Bayer when they inject people with live HIV virus with Factor VIII. Or if we ever go after criminally Pfizer for having a drug that's 80% effective in treating Alzheimer's, and it's already on the market for arthritis, but they won't promote it as such because they would lose a bunch of money. Like, they should be criminally fucking prosecuted. And the thing is that Tulsi Gabbard was one of the only few people that said basically, look, none of this is ever going to change unless we start going after them like that. Ever. You have to change the laws. We could sit here till the cows come home. And she called out Kamala Harris on the lobbyist that wrote her fucking bill. And she's like, she didn't write it, she endorsed it. And that was the beginning of the end and the start of the meltdown of Harris Gabbard. But she had a great point there. She's like, the bill that you're putting out there, okay, it was sponsored by the large corporations that are what? Beholden to their investors to turn a profit. Guess what? Me being okay and not sick doesn't turn anybody a fucking profit. That's a huge problem. When you put profits above human life, that's a huge issue. I can't get behind it.
Yeah, I mean, even Trump, this is something that people probably don't remember, but even in the Republican debates, and I think it was around 2016, one of the later ones, he basically advocated for universal health care. He said he would not let people be dying in the streets. Nobody's going to die in the streets. Well, that means that somebody's going to be providing free health care to everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer. I know it's still a lot of people, consider that socialism or whatever. I just think I think it really is a no-brainer when you look at so many other countries and how they already do provide free healthcare. But, I don't want to get stuck on that issue too long. But
Robbie, there's no reason in the richest country in the world that insulin should cost a tenth of the price. Fucking two miles above the border. That's insanity. That's criminal. We should be putting people in jail. These companies have us
by the balls is the thing. I mean, even just the idea of these pharmaceutical companies, we are literally people don't realize we are literally one of the only countries in the world, in the Western world, I don't even think most European countries, except for maybe one, legalized pharmaceutical companies advertising on television.
Yeah.
That's one of the things unique to our country. That was passed, I think, by Bill Clinton in the late 90s. So it's like, we think that's normal here. I mean, it's really not normal.
No,
like
it's
to
not.
have pharmaceutical companies trying to lobby us to tell our doctors what kind of drugs we want. It's just so strange when you think about it.
Yeah, no, Chantix. You could quit smoking slow turkey. May cause suicidal thoughts or actions, but hey, who gives a fuck? I'm watching a cartoon turkey, camping and having a great time quitting smoking. It's like, bonkersville. All right, brother, I promise to get you out of here by 11:40. I hope we can do it again, maybe before the next debate on a whole nother subject. I know it's been at least a month and a half since your sister promised that she'd come on after the Gaza movie premiere, so I'm going to be contacting her as well, and maybe I can get you guys on together for a round table. I would love that as well. MediaRoots.org is where to check it out. Robbie, I'll see you on the flip, and guys, let's start getting to some questions. Thanks again, brother.
Thanks, Jason. Take care.
All right. That was Robbie Martin of Media Roots, one of my favorite guests to have on a regular basis. Really good guy. We don't have to agree all the time, but that's not the point, is it? All right, let's start going through it. Tucker is a national treasure. Tulsi Gabbard went against the BDS movement, voting on the resolution calling BDS supporters anti-Semites. Oh, I don't like that. It's ridiculous that being for people being alive against an apartheid state. I agree. Burmis will only go so far, like Alex Jones. Go check out the Big Bear. Oh, no, that's it. We're out of here. And what are we doing? We're hiding. That's the ban right there. Boom. You know you'll get the ban hammer here. If you didn't know, just to let you know, I'll ban you. AdWords is not AdSense. Oh, I guess it's not. My mistake. All the cover up Tulsi puts on her face, I can still see the acne. Hey, whatever, man. I mean, I still get zits. It happens. Part of life. Burmis, check the live. Click the live chat. I am clicking the live chat. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to go through as much of this as I can. Second time Tulsi's number one on Google. We went to that one. She is getting the Ron Paul treatment. Agreed. Phobic is a misnomer. It means irrational fear. The U.S. is building a base in Syria and stealing the oil in the north, and they're terrorist Kurdish groups. You're not wrong. Oh, we got rid of the bear. Sorry, I don't know what else he said. I honestly don't mind Tulsi, but I don't vote. Well, if you're of age, maybe you should get out there and vote and let people know why you're voting for that person and have a conversation with somebody and say, hey, I'm being active. We have to start somewhere. I don't think the Democrats have a chance against Tulsi, even if they have a common sense candidate. Trump's too good. Trump is big news. He's tough. That just jumped a lot, huh? Let's see. Man, a lot of those jumped. 1984, Brave New World, for example. Tulsi voted against Trump's military budget, by the way. Mega trolls out against her recently. Yeah, there are a lot of people out against her. Seriously ignorant. Plenty of men, more in fact. Clever, strong, male, authority figure. Daddy complex. I don't know what that means. Oh, boy. Otis was really in there, huh? Healthcare should be right for the fact that people are stuck in dead-end jobs because they are beholden to a company insurance policy. That is tough. Listen, again, I don't know that we need for-profit insurance. I'm not saying you can't buy into things, but again, when somebody's profit margin is above human health, it's a real issue. Let's see. I enjoy good healthcare in Canada. I can tell you firsthand our hospitals have excellent doctors and nurses. God bless them. Okay? We got all the money in the world for war, but none when it comes to the welfare of the people. Couldn't agree more. All right. Hey, Jason. Hi from Belgium. It's not free haircut. Yes, you do pay quite a bit. I get it. Let's see. Oh, we got another super chat from Fun Loving Bee. Thank you so much, man. Me again. What's your thoughts on individuals creating companies to profile populations so they can target undecided swing votes? How would we avoid this? These individuals be held accountable? I don't know that I'm against that. You're fine to create a company to try to find your target audience. Big data's out there. Analytics are out there. I think it's a lot of hype out there, especially since they said the Russia influenced the elections. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people are influenced by online content and what they search for, but they're more influenced by the people that are surrounding them and the popular culture they're actually interested to and how it relates. So an ad in that region may not help. But who knows? Maybe AI is going to get so good that everything will be undistinguishable and it'll be easy to buy us all off. I hope not. What's your opinion on the anti-BDS laws? It's ridiculous. Listen, again, when you're in solidarity against sanctions, okay, and when sanctions are taking lives and they're a part of war, you should be able to have that stance no matter what. It's insanity. And I've already talked about this, that, you know, Jimmy Carter with his book, Peace Not Apartheid, about Israel, which I think is about 10 years old now, was really pushed by the wayside in the media, and they never want to discuss that. But Carter was spot on in there. And, you know, when you talk about Israel being very much an apartheid state, people look at you like you're crazy, but they just have no idea what's really going on there because of the influx of propaganda and the fact that most people don't know what's going on in their own country, let alone what's going on overseas. They're just not interested. They're not active. They don't understand the repercussions. Geopolitics is just not in their repertoire. Benjamin Fulford, is he on the money when it comes to Trump and Israel having something over him? Or is he just a shill for the Eastern powers that be? Benjamin Fulford 10 years ago said that the Japanese Illuminati was going to save us all. Come on, man. Again, I don't deal in Johnny nonsense. I deal in facts, and that's why I have people like Robbie Martin on, and that's why we do real analysis, and we watch the debates, and we call out the propaganda and the WWE-style wrestling where we see it, but we also call out the Johnny nonsense when we see it as well, and we don't always agree. So, guys, this is how I'm doing it. It's a GoFundMe. I'm doing it once a month. We're 14 days deep in a 30-day campaign. We're almost halfway to the $5,000 goal. I'm not going to do some secret Skype session with you. I don't have a subscribed star. There is no Patreon. I don't have anything else. I do have a Bitcoin address if you want to help me out there, but I'm really not touching that. This is how I'm making a living. This is how I'm making 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 videos a day. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe now. Thumbs the video up. Share it. We're at the forefront of the Epstein info. By the way, guys, the Epstein info, let me show you something. Let me show you a little folder of justice. Where are we at here? Oh, it's not there. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see if we can find it up in here. Where did I put it? Into downloads? Is there a bunch in downloads? Yeah. These are all new Epstein documents. Okay? These are all new Epstein documents. So there they are. There's a ton of them. Yeah, there you go. Ton of Epstein documents. Got a ton to go through. And because of one of the great listeners out there, Erica, I've been able to get those. So tomorrow, big deep dive into Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Oh, yeah. And it seems that Epstein was a bit of a transhumanist. We're going to get into all that tomorrow, big time. So make sure that you're subscribed. And with that being said, guys, thank you for joining me. I'll see you on the flip side.